Welcome to a galactic edition of the Triple Scoop.
Is it the beginning of,
Bridget Jones' Diary, yes.
no, what's the Mulder and Scully?
X-Files.
X-Files.
That's it.
You know, like the main characters' names? You don't know.
Is
I
it
couldn't
Sully
find
or
it.
Scully?
It's Scully.
Is it?
Scully.
I think
No,
it's
Sully.
Scully.
No, Sully. Sully Sullenberger, the hero of the Hudson.
Sully Sullenberger. Oh, what?
Anyway, we're back. It's episode 6. I have Diana here. She is my wife.
Yes.
I'm going to say that every time.
Currently.
I said that last time, jerk.
Yeah. Well, now you made her think about it. So
Yeah.
It's just like, oh.
Yeah, it's pending. And then we have Greg here. Greg's here too.
Hey.
Hey, Greg. Greg.
Are you gonna continue to start the episodes with something that you thought up that you didn't run past anybody?
Sure am. When you're given the burden of starting each episode, that's
Well, you kind of took it.
not really though.
Nobody volunteered you.
Oh well. Hey, we're off to a great start. Episode 6. So today's topic, as I mentioned, is it's a galactic adventure into space and everything about space and everything that could interest or excite us about space. So this topic was my main goal and idea because I love space. I don't think Greg and Diana have as much love for space as me. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so.
But I think it's really fun to talk about. So, first things first. Space to me is like one of the most exciting and or interesting topics to think about, or just to, try and wrap your mind around. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like a black hole. Like think about that.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just that light
What's
can't
in there?
escape it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like a proven thing. It's out there.
Yeah.
It's you can't fucking, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That kind of stuff.
Yep.
Like, and so sometimes I just lay in bed and I just think about weird shit out there. You know what I'm saying? I'm not high or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
Imagine if you were.
hey. But no. So what are your guys' initial thoughts on space? Do you share that, or do you just not really are that interested?
I don't think about it regularly, only
Because
because...
it's depressing. Because you'll never know.
Well, only because, like, I have a hard time wrapping my head around things that, like, I will never see myself, kind of. You know what I mean?
But you see it every day.
But
A
you-
black hole.
No, you
Is that a
see
dirty joke?
space every single day.
Well, I mean, the stars and that part of it.
That's
them
space.
things-
You mean like firsthand be in space?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Greg?
It's pretty sick. I'm sad that I was born too late to explore the world and too early to explore the cosmos.
Too late to explore.
That's right.
Okay, I'm following.
But never too late to explore the ocean.
Sure.
You could do that.
I could. I could. Ocean's fucking creepy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, space. So, like, just like I was saying, every day, every night anyway, you see the stars, you see the sun, you can see every now and then the planets, they're visible and stuff like that. I just think that's the coolest shit because it's just right there.
Yeah.
You can't see the planets every night.
Not every night. I said only once in a while.
You definitely said every night.
Every night you can see a planet, absolutely.
No, I don't believe you.
You can see like Saturn.
Yeah.
Every night.
Every
sure.
night you can see one of the other planets in the solar system.
Depending on the
Absolutely.
clouds and stuff.
I don't believe you.
Let's take a look.
Are you looking at your telescope? What's happening?
Give me 5 hours and I will jot down this mathematical location.
Do you know what the Latin word for Venus is?
Why would anybody ever know that? Like, it's so random.
Lucifer,
Oh.
fallen angel. Because the way with the orbit, the way that the Earth spins, and the way it looks like it's just falling from the sky.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other cool thing is all the planets, all the constellations, everything like that. It's all named for, ancient biblical references or
Yeah.
ancient.
Greek gods.
Yeah.
Roman gods.
That's cool to me. Like Neptune.
cool.
Neptune is named after the sea god of ancient Greece. Is it ancient Greece?
Rome.
That's
Yeah.
it. So that kind of stuff is vastly interesting.
Yeah.
So that what you just
Jupiter
said.
is the equivalent of Zeus.
Yeah.
Shit like that.
Do you remember in school when they would bring that big blow up dome thing?
Fuck yeah.
That was my favorite.
That shit was so cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
they put
love
it in
it.
the library or something.
They put it in some room and they basically just taught you about stars and stuff, and you had to like crawl in to this little
Yeah.
opening it was like an igloo, and then you would sit on the perimeter and sit in the dark, and they would like do this presentation about stars. And I remember always my main focus was like, who are you gonna sit by?
Yeah. That's awesome.
Because
Yeah.
you like lay on your back, right?
I
I
think
don't
we always
think
just
so.
sat.
I use like crisscross applesauce.
Yeah.
Indian
Yeah.
style.
I noticed your research into seeing planets every night has concluded. So.
I didn't find any definitive information. This
So
will be
that's a
on.
no.
By episode 9, I'll have an answer for you.
That's a no.
Well, a lot of the times you can see the planets. But that's the thing, if you have a telescope, it's like if you have a telescope, or even just last year when we had like a really big supermoon,
Yeah.
I bust out the binoculars and I just looked at it for seriously like an hour, because the detail that you can see on the face of the moon just with when it's amplified like that is unreal.
That eclipse was pretty neat.
Yeah.
A couple years ago.
I mean, we didn't see a whole lot of like action as far as like it didn't get
It didn't
super
get super
dark.
dark, but
But it was very
weird.
cool.
Yeah, it definitely changed here.
Yeah.
But that's
With, like the shadows were like split and really weird.
Mhm.
Like they looked like hazy.
Yeah.
It was really interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
But imagine like 300 years ago when people didn't know that shit was like a thing.
And
Yeah.
it just got
They're
dark
like,
all
they're
over
like,
the
"Ah!"
place.
everything is over.
Yeah.
They're turning it off on us.
Like
Yeah.
a ring of fire in the sky.
Sacrifice everything, appease them.
And then like 7 minutes later, it's like half of the people have been sacrificed, and then the sun just comes back, and they're like,
we did
"Oh,
it.
Shit. Okay.
We did it.
Well, we got rid of Bob, so I think that did it.
I'd like to give a quick shout out to my homie Pluto.
Is
Rest
he a
in peace.
planet?
Nope. He's
Depending on who you
I
ask.
think he's an exoplanet.
I feel like I will always consider him a planet.
First of all, did you just gender Pluto?
Sorry. I guess I was going off the reference of the dog.
Yeah, that's fair.
And he's a boy.
Yeah, we used to have 9 planets, but now I believe it's just 8.
I wonder if they like.
8 planets and a lie.
Wow,
8 planets and a fraud.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
But I truly think like it's like okay, I love we've established this, but I love movies a lot, and so space movies is my biggest one, and so when I think about or when I used to watch these movies and things, I used to very much get like really curious about the future as far as space travel, like going to other planets. Like we just saw Ad Astra,
Yeah.
and you think about like taking a commercial flight to the moon.
Yeah.
That shit's awesome.
Is that what that was about?
I mean, it's about a
it was
bunch of
about it was weird as fuck.
Okay.
Probably don't watch it, but there were some parts in it that were sick.
really sick?
Yeah, really liked it. And like there's a part, my favorite part. He says we were world killers,
World eaters.
world eaters. Yeah.
So,
Because we just destroy
Use
everything we
things.
come in
Just
contact with.
consume.
Yeah.
The idea of like living on a space station or something like that always kind of intrigued me, because of the movie Xenon, Girl of the 21st
Yeah.
Century.
Zetus Lapidus.
Yeah, boom boom, you make my heart go zoom zoom.
You need to watch some videos.
I guess can't rollerblade in space, huh?
And just like the way that she would just kind of wander around the space station, it had like a cafeteria, and then there was like the living quarters, but they were all kind of like bunk bed type, and you'd hit the button and the door would like slide
Yep.
open and all that shit.
So there's
like,
gravity.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were on a space. Yeah. It was just like a
It's the
advanced.
future.
Well, I mean, right now you can generate gravity, I believe, if you have a spinning station. Right?
I don't know.
I mean, I think so.
I don't know.
I think so.
All the videos you see, they're kind of floating.
Well, yeah, because it's not spinning. They don't have like a spinning
Like,
whatever.
do you ever see videos where they're not floating though?
Well, no, because they don't have a station that's spinning.
So they're floating 24/7.
So
Yes.
it doesn't exist.
They have to strap. It's okay. It's they have to strap themselves down to sleep, and like their arms just float.
That's fucking weird.
Yeah, it's
Like
not even like
the water
floating.
balls.
It's just they're in a constant state of falling.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So
Because they're in our orbit, and they're rotate like coming. They're going around the Earth, but they're literally falling.
see, that's the thing. That's the thing about
See, that
space.
blows my
that's-
mind. I like literally.
I know, and so
Can't
let's talk about
comprehend.
that particular one. So I think it was Isaac Newton, that
Discovered gravity.
figured out as far as gravity is concerned. So if you like,
But
say if you throw a rock,
Yes.
let's say you throw that rock and it goes 20 feet. What does it do? It goes out of your hand. It arcs.
What goes up must come down.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Exactly. But if you throw that rock hard enough and fast enough for it to never hit the ground, it's going to continue going around until it basically hits the earth. So if you put a spaceship in orbit,
Yes.
it's not necessarily, it's not flying, quote unquote. It's not floating somewhere. It is in a constant state of falling.
Okay, but it's just going in a circle in like how far of a distance? Like each time it's closer to the Earth, is what you're saying?
No, because they mathematically plot it so it won't have a descending altitude to where it's going to always be where it is.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes satellites, you've seen on the news before, sometimes satellites they like fall from the sky, you know what I'm saying? Because they're outdated or they're old or they're whatever, and they start to descend. So they start to lose that trajectory around the Earth. So think of it this way as well. So the moon is constantly falling toward the Earth because it's caught in its gravitational pull.
Yeah, but we're all orbiting the sun, so the Earth isn't just staying in one spot for the moon to just crash into it. So we're all moving together.
And the Earth is constantly falling into the sun. So in space, whatever mass is the greatest is the biggest gravitational pull.
Yes.
Meaning, so think of a white sheet, right? Spread across. And if you put a bowling ball in the center, a tennis ball in one corner, and a marble at the other corner, where are they going to go?
To the middle.
To the middle toward the bowling ball. It's the exact same thing.
But if you have a Tempur-Pedic, they say that's not the case.
That is true, yeah. But no, and that's the kind of stuff that it blows your mind to think about because you just don't understand exactly how that could be. And the mass of some of these systems and the mass of some of these objects and stuff that we don't even know about in the galaxy or in the universe is astronomically larger than that.
So if in the 60s when they like really kind of pushed for a lot of space research and all that
The
stuff.
space race.
Yeah. If they were able to mathematically measure the moon's this far away from the Earth, if somebody was to do that measurement today, is it closer?
No.
It's not closer?
No, because it's in orbit.
Okay.
So
I guess you using the word falling is confusing me.
That's the absolute truth about it though. So again, so the moon, if it weren't in an orbit, that would never. I mean, eventually, will the moon impact the Earth in like a billion years?
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe.
Like it could be like in the last 45 years, it's moved a quarter of an inch.
I mean, maybe, probably.
But I guess can they even do the math to get that?
Not
precise?
that minuscule, I don't think. But it's just like the Earth. The Earth eventually is going to end up in the sun if we last that long. It's just a matter of.
Well, we aren't.
Not us. I mean, that probably won't happen at that point. But that's just gravity.
That's crazy.
That's just me picking up my phone and dropping it on the table. That's just what it is. It's a constant state of falling. So when you see astronauts, anything in space, consistently, and that's why up there, just within the vacuum of space and then just orbiting a planet, they're just floating around because essentially, think about when you jump off a diving board or something like that. That's just you're in midair. So somebody who's skydiving is basically in the same state as an astronaut, except for the fact that the skydiver is in the atmosphere, so they're getting a lot of resistance and friction against the air that's in the atmosphere. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Pretty sure the moon's getting further away from us.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How come?
Not really cool because it controls the tides.
Yeah, the moon used to be closer.
Really?
Yeah.
That
I
answers your
was pretty
question.
sure, and then
Well, I don't understand how
looked
it's
it up, and
falling
it's-
away. Is this like how you fall upstairs?
it says that its orbit is getting larger at a rate of 3.8 centimeters per year.
Huh.
So not by much, but
Yeah.
I wonder why.
gradually. Probably because the sun's pulling it
I guess, yeah, that makes sense.
further away.
There's a lot of, there's actually a theory to support that I know of, that the moon was formed after or out of the Earth. So the Earth started off, everything, the solar system and everything like that started off as just dust and gas and all this other stuff, and everything kind of but like formed on itself and like, formed masses and things like that. And they say that at one point there was a huge, this is like prehistoric, pre-everything, when the Earth was just a big fireball.
Yeah.
There's a big collision, an asteroid or a comet or something like that, and it broke off a major chunk of, at that point, which was the Earth, and that became the moon. And so maybe over the course of millennia, that trajectory has just been there. We just haven't really noticed it. So it might have just been going away the whole time. It just happened to form into the moon as we know today.
How did it become a circle? Like, I guess identifiable circle if
I don't
just
know.
something hit it.
Most of them do. And I think it has a lot to do with just the
Impact.
gravitational pull. Because if you think about like one space of gravity in a 360 degree world or environment, everything comes in from all sides on it, so it eventually just figures
Don't
it
they
out.
say that the rings of Saturn and Neptune are gonna
Yeah.
combine into balls at some point?
They could combine into balls. They could lose their rings altogether.
Like become moons? Is that what
Yeah.
you're...
Yeah.
That's how moons are formed. It's just dust, gas, material, and they just pack together upon themselves. And when one hits another and one hits another, that they start to form mass. And then anytime you have mass, from what I understand, in space, at that point it starts to attract other things. But of course they're chained to their main gravitational whatever. So like the moons of Jupiter and stuff like that, like they're never gonna leave Jupiter.
And that's why they classified Pluto as a moon, because it didn't have its own moon, right?
I don't know.
They said it was too small to be a planet.
It's an exoplanet or something like that now,
Or
or a dwarf.
celestial being.
There you go. Yeah,
It sounds like an angel.
it's just
Yeah, that's weird.
My homie Pluto's an angel.
yeah.
I think it'd be funny if like some scientists listen to this and it's like, these people are fucking stupid.
Oh my gosh, I know, right?
Just we have
Well, I
no
mean,
idea
this is
what
just
we're
our
talking about.
understanding
Yeah,
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I mean, I don't have
or
a
my
PhD,
lack
but-
thereof.
Well, that's why we're talking about it. Because I mean, before this podcast, guess what? You didn't know that astronauts were in a constant state of falling. That's pretty cool.
I still don't really understand your constant state of falling, because you said that about
That
the
is
moon.
that is the satellites and stuff that they are constantly falling.
Constantly.
okay.
Yeah. Everything
Moon
that
is
we
pretty
put
further.
in, everything that we put into space.
How long does it take to get to the moon?
A week.
I have no idea.
Granted, I'm taking this from Apollo 13, but
Allegedly.
like a week.
Hey, how about people thinking the Earth's flat again? That's making a comeback.
Really?
People
Yeah.
are so
Like,
stupid.
what are we doing?
I don't understand how they can think that that's a thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because people these days are just, they
Is
want
it
to question
foreigners?
everything.
Foreigners are starting this?
Is it the Irish? Stupid.
Kyrie Irving.
No, but if you really, really like, I mean, all you have to do is get in an airplane and you can see the curvature of the Earth and all this
Yeah.
other stuff. People always point to boats, because if you're on like a beach or a pier or something like that, you can see boats for like hundreds of miles, and they don't disappear over the horizon for a fair amount of time. And it's like, okay, well, you know,
Yeah.
that's really not a big factor or a big excuse, because that's just, the water's obviously much different from like a mountain range or land or whatever the case. But
Yeah.
That's funny.
you know, I'm not a flat earther,
Yeah.
obviously.
I mean, the Japanese came over the Pacific. You know what I mean?
Like, what
Boy.
would that like? So if the Earth is flat, then there would have to be some point that you're literally like crawling over, correct?
Correct.
Like,
Well, if the Earth was flat, it would be a flat disc. And if it was a flat disc,
Like
once
a domed disc.
yeah, so once you get to the edge, so in the middle, the gravity would be the and some people think gravity's fake too, and I hate people. In the middle, you would be essentially, you know, just kind of how it would be here, normal. But as you went further out onto the disc, more toward the edges, you would experience a lot different gravitational effects. So like you'd feel a lot heavier, I believe. You'd feel, yeah, I watched a video on it at one point, and you would get some pretty severe like gravitational and
physical complications.
physical things. So you really couldn't make it to the edge alive, because at that point your body just couldn't withstand the forces. So people are just retarded. And I'm not even gonna like entertain that notion that it's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just like can't even like fathom where they think it's true.
They're
but
dumb. People are bored
interesting.
and they're lame,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to question everything.
Yeah.
Do you think the space travel stuff is really going to amp up in our lifetimes?
Yeah.
No. They've just felt like I've been lied to my whole life about it.
Do you think the moon landing was a conspiracy?
No, I think we did it. USA.
USA.
I do think that cosmonaut is a way cooler word than astronaut, though.
Did you say comrade? I believe we did it. However, I have some very real questions on why we get to the moon the very first time, the biggest achievement in man history and mankind, and then we just stop in 1974, and then we just don't go back.
What was it?
And then now it's like, well, and then we develop basically the space shuttle, which is basically just a big airplane, and we go up in there, and that thing sees 30 or 40 years of service, and we don't use it for anything else. And then now we're back to rockets with pods on the very tips of them.
Well, the race to the moon was really just showing the Russians that we
was
can
political.
touch you from
Yeah.
anywhere.
Well, I'm sure there's some money involved.
Yeah, we're gonna nuke Moscow from right here.
But then a lot of people say these days, scientists and things like that, that for us to send men to the moon and women, whatever, for us to send people to the moon, they have to go through, I forget what it's called, but it's a radiation belt that's between outside of Earth's, I don't even know what the sphere is called, but it's a something sphere, and the radiation is too high to get to the moon. And then you hear people say that today, and it's like, well, what the hell, dude? We did it 17, 18 times in the 60s and 70s, and these guys are still alive, some of them.
Yeah.
And so that raises a few eyebrows, but I feel like
and they say that like initially astronauts, like, they weren't allowed to have kids because they didn't, like, something like that. They didn't know if they would come, like, be deformed or.
It beats me.
Oh my, I didn't even hear about that.
My favorite theory is that we did go to the moon, and then after 74, after we abandoned the moon program in favor of the space shuttle, we began militarizing the moon in some respect, in terms of putting up secret missions up there to have a military base. Legitimately though, like that's the one that if I had to buy into one, I'd say that, because it makes no sense that we wouldn't go back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So if gun to my head, I feel like that there's probably a base of some kind on the moon.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It'd be fucking cool.
Yeah, but that's and because now it's like China and India are trying to go back and stuff like that, and like.
Are they?
Yeah.
India tried to, and they lost contact on the dark side.
And not even.
Because we shot their ass down.
Got him. But I mean, think about just the nature of man. The nature of man is, well, as far as the more harsh and violent nature of man is land acquisition and conquering. So you're telling me.
Manifest destiny.
You're telling me you get to the moon, a whole other planet, essentially. It's a moon, but you know what I'm saying. A whole other celestial body that overlooks everything, and you're not going to go back, and you're just going to leave it open for any other country? I don't think so, especially just with how secretive our government is and stuff. I would bet that we've been there for sure.
You know about the I'm sure you do, the tungsten rods that from the satellites. They hit with the force of a nuke, but there's no radiation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like there's a deal put in place that we wouldn't put like rockets on satellites.
Like nuclear weapons.
And so we don't, but they developed these tungsten rods that they can launch from space, and they impact with enough force that's bigger than like the biggest nukes. But there's no radiation, so it would just devastate what it hit without any lasting effects. And it doesn't violate the treaty.
So it's like total
USA.
USA. But no, that stuff's, I mean, that's another part about space. It's deeply militarized now. And
Space Force.
Yeah, Space Force just got, well, like a year ago or something like that, it just got established from the Trump administration. And I think it was already going to be happening under Obama anyway, but we're militarizing space. There's that shuttle drone, that X-37. You seen that? I think it's the X-37. It's a little tiny mini, it's really cute actually. It's like a little mini space shuttle, but it's a drone. And they launch it up to space, and no one knows what it does. It stays up there for weeks at a time.
Of space.
It stays up there for weeks at a time, and no one knows what it does. Top secret. Completely top secret. It actually just broke the record for most active mission in space not too long ago. And that's like over the International Space Station, I believe. So the militarization of space, the commercialization of space is also big now too, and that's coming down the pipe. And that's why I disagree as far as like, will we see any space travel in our lifetimes, is because in 30 years I would bet that you could probably, not like an affordable ticket, but I bet you could buy a ticket to go orbit the Earth or orbit the moon or something like that. Yeah. It's just gonna happen.
Yeah.
And so if I think of in like Mars, stuff like that, I feel like that's gonna happen in the 30s.
I was told.
You mean 2030s?
Yeah.
I was told in like 1998 that we would have colonies on Mars in 2064.
Wow.
Something on TV. So don't fucking let me down.
Well, one thing about Ad Astra that I was really pumped about is,
Moon Pirates?
Well, okay, Moon Pirates for sure, but they send astronauts and like commercial, patrons to the moon, because that's where they store all their long range rockets. So they utilize the moon as more of a staging area to get to the further places. Because who knows, what reason, but I thought that was fucking cool. I was like, damn, cool. That actually sounds pretty viable. That's awesome. Like if you told me right now that we had like long range rockets to get other places on the dark side of the moon,
I'm sure it'd be way easier to launch off of the moon than Earth.
Well, definitely.
Yeah.
That's probably why. Saves
Yeah.
on fuel.
Mhm.
You nailed it. Gotcha, Ad Astra.
Yep.
Thanks, Brad Pitt.
So, the dark side of the moon, that's the side we never see?
Correct.
I
Did we
thought it
figure
was-
that out?
I thought it was an orbit, so, like,
It is an orbit.
it's turning, so how can we never see one side?
It's not turning. Have you ever seen, other than a crescent moon, have you ever seen anything but the face of the moon that you're
I don't know.
It always looks like the dude's face.
The moon is consistently facing us. It is not spinning.
I thought it was.
I don't remember. I remember we talked about this and somebody was wrong. I definitely wasn't right.
The rotation. It doesn't have a rotation.
There's only one picture, or whenever you see the moon, it only has one face to it.
I don't think I ever knew that.
I always like when it is. Close.
My thing defaulted to moon boots.
It's a shout out to the '90s episode.
Yeah.
Episode 5. Listen now. Go ahead and hit that like button.
I like when it's a crescent moon when I can like pick out the dark part, you know.
See, that looks different.
Hmm?
That one looks different.
They're looking at pictures on Google Images for
Good
people
call.
that are confused.
Yeah, look, there's two there. It looks different. I don't get it.
I think that's just...
This is,
You never see that in the
quality
sky.
content here on.
Oh, sorry.
Triple Scoop.
Yeah, sorry about that. We were looking at pictures of the moon. So we'll get back to that. I don't know. It could be. I'm pretty sure we're right about the moon. But no, I mean, so you think about space travel. I do believe we'll have people on Mars in this century. Hopefully, we'll be alive to see it.
Yeah.
I remember in like 1997 or whatever, when they landed the Mars rover and we watched the thing on the news.
Remember
like, as
the
it was
face on
happening.
Mars?
Yeah.
What?
You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh boy. All right, so I know I just gave them shit for looking at Google Images, but everybody look up face on Mars.
All
And,
three of you out there.
It'll be like we're doing this together.
Yep. All three of everybody.
See, I guess the
Yeah,
space stuff escapes me. Like,
There was a I can't remember what it was, but it was a satellite photo of Mars, and I think it might have been that rover mission, but they went over a certain area, and there was a face.
oh my god!
Yeah.
You never saw that?
That's terrifying. No.
Yeah, there was a face on Mars, and it was a mountainous region that just
Do we know
happened
how
to-
big that is?
Huge.
Oh, it is. It's big, like
Yeah.
mountain.
Was it
big.
Mission to Mars where they like see
Yep.
that they see the
Great
face?
movie. Yep.
Yeah.
And the face turns out to be a spaceship.
Yep.
Huh.
Is that the same movie where like the dude takes off his mask or like his helmet in space and his
Yep.
face cracks?
Yeesh.
Yeah.
Which
that's
wouldn't
stuff
happen
that we
apparently. I thought that would happen because I thought it was just fact that if you get caught in the vacuum of space, your blood's gonna boil instantly. You're gonna die.
I
Yeah.
thought you froze.
Apparently not either of those. Apparently it takes some time for you to.
You're just chilling.
Yeah, you suffocate immediately because all the oxygen is
Yeah.
sucked from you. But then your body is really apparently is unchanged. This is a shock to me. I only
Your
learned this in the
lungs
last
collapse.
year, and then eventually it freezes over. But
Oh.
there's no, the only thing that is why it freezes is because the water content in your body and in your whole mass. But
That's
that
crazy.
takes a while.
How
Apparently.
about Armageddon, huh?
Whew!
That's a good movie.
Talk about a movie.
Hey, let's instead of teaching these genius astronauts how to drill something, let's find these fucking drillers and teach them how to be astronauts. There's a plan.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Let's head down to North 40 and do some recruiting.
Jesus. That is too
Hey, you're a
funny.
pretty hard guy. You want to learn how to fly a fucking spaceship and
I know, right?
plant a nuke?
I think you can do it.
Multi-trillion-dollar.
Yeah. Who's ready to die for Liv Tyler?
Give it to Harry Stamper. That's his name in that.
Was it?
That movie, Deep Impact, also.
Mm.
Well, I mean, okay, let's talk about asteroids and comets and shit. If one comes, it's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yep.
And lately, there have been a lot that we just haven't seen coming.
Like, you mean like they get really close without being on the
Yeah.
space
Yeah, like-
NASA's radar?
One just passed us within between us and the moon, and if it had hit, it would have decimated a major metropolitan area.
Wow.
But
I don't think
we
it was
didn't.
between us and the moon.
It was.
I don't think so.
You can
we
look
would
it
have
up.
seen it.
No, the reason we didn't see it is because it was coming to us. Like, basically, we were looking in the direction of it, but it was coming to us from where the sun is. So we didn't see it.
Oh.
And then it passed us, and NASA was like, woo!
But like when it passes us, we can see it, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. But if a massive asteroid was going to come and imminently hit us, They wouldn't tell us. 100%.
You think?
No.
That's crazy.
It would be pandemonium. There would be, I mean, if it's like a regional devastating asteroid or something like that, that's something. But I guarantee that if it was like a global devastator or something like that, they would not tell the general public because they want to keep kind of business as usual and then get all the important things all lined up. They probably already have contingency plans for it.
That's crazy.
I know. It's true, though.
Can't imagine.
Because think about it. It's like, oh, hey, the world's going to end in 5 days. What's going to happen in those 5 days?
Oh, complete mayhem.
Exactly. So they want to avoid that.
Yeah, rape and murder and all
Everything.
kinds of shit.
Everything. Religious hysteria.
Yeah.
All sorts of shit. So I'm sure they'd try and stop it, but it would all be under the covers. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
no, I mean, you look up at night in the night sky, you see maybe a little shooting star. Just, pew.
Yep.
I just don't look at it as like, oh, wow, how magical, a shooting star. I'm just like, wow, holy shit, that thing was traveling millions of miles, that little piece of dust or rock or whatever the hell, and there it is.
Yep. Have you ever seen one with a tail? Like a sparkly tail?
Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
I love shooting stars.
How about like this time of year, like fall when it's cold out and it's a clear night sky and there's that halo around the moon?
Yeah. Yep.
Love that shit.
Yep. Especially spooky as well.
Yeah. The first time I saw it, I was like, oh, we're dead. Cool.
Did, did you know that every time you look at the moon, you look at the stars, regardless of what it is, you're looking at delayed. You're looking at a delayed
Yes,
time period.
I did know that.
So like when you look at the moon, you're seeing the moon as it was like 3 seconds ago.
But the stars are.
The stars are
longer.
billions of years.
They
Yeah.
say like
Isn't that
they
crazy?
say the stars that you're looking at are already dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the other cool part is, and the part that I didn't really quantify until just recently, was the actual photons that have been traveling through the cosmos at speed of light. The actual individual photons that are hitting your retinas were traveling through space from that star system to meet your eye.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very odd concept.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So those photons were created on the surface of that star, and then they shot out in every direction where that star shines, and they just traveled. So if you go out tonight and look at a star, you essentially just met a photon in the middle, and it's just continually radiating. So, and I always thought when I learned that blew my fucking mind.
So like when I go look at stars, you're looking at different stars?
What?
Like we're looking at different stars?
No, we're looking at the same stars, because if I say, hey, there's the Big Dipper, you'll be like, oh yeah, it's the Big Dipper. The difference is you are just focusing in and you are receiving the photons from that. That makes sense? It's on a microscopic level.
I'm not very. This might be shocking, but I don't see the stars making shapes in the sky. I can't see it.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that's more of a whatchamacallit, like a mechanical.
Like an intelligence.
No, not like that.
Right brain, left brain type of thing.
No, you know how like human brains are like predisposed to like looking for patterns and things like that?
But I'm
So
very
like a
good at.
right brain, left brain type of thing.
No, so I'm talking about like the difference between your left brain and your right brain.
Stupid. I'm very good at magic eyes, though.
Stupid. But that part blows me away. So literally, when you go out and look at the night sky, you are looking at billions of years in the past. You want to talk about a time machine? That's insanity.
That is insane.
I always used to think, and all the time growing up, and literally until like a year or two ago, that every time you looked in the night sky, it was just boom. It's like a live feed up there. No, light has to travel, and once it does, so there might have been a supernova a billion years ago that we're gonna see from the Andromeda Galaxy, which I believe is the closest one to us.
And you say you haven't seen Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century.
Yeah. Get it together.
Jesus.
Supernova is the main performer in that movie.
Anyway, but there could be a supernova, something the likes of which we have never seen, and it'll just pop up in the night sky one night. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
It's really crazy.
If you look at a star and you see it's like twinkling a bunch of different colors, it's probably an explosion.
Wow. Have you ever seen a meteor shower?
Yes.
Yeah, shit's
That would be
cool.
I haven't seen that.
It's really cool.
I really want to see the Northern Lights.
Yeah.
Pictures alone are enough
Alright.
to like blow your mind.
Quiz time. Do you know how the Northern Lights are formed?
Also known as Aurora Borealis.
Thank you very much. Now spell it.
No.
AURORABOREAL.
Wrong.
IS.
U.S. Loser.
You don't know.
USA. Anyway, do you know how the Aurora Borealis is formed?
Something to do with the atmosphere, I'm sure.
No.
It's gas.
No.
It's similar to the world of color projection.
Shout out to Disneyland. No, it's the radiation from the sun, and it's basically an aurora borealis can happen anywhere on Earth if the radiation is strong enough. But it's the Earth essentially receiving and or absorbing the radiation from the sun, and it's just the magnetosphere or whatever it is. That's what causes it.
I think you've watched too much
The
X-Men.
what? So it has to do with the atmosphere?
The atmosphere is where is a specific layer. The stratosphere, magnetosphere, things like that. Those are different layers. So you're wrong on that part. I'll look it up real quick. Just so we're.
Is Alaska the only place you can see it, or
No.
northern Canada, or?
Well, yeah, the like northern hemisphere.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the dome, like the cleared dome hotel in Iceland?
No.
You can like rent your own room, and it's a dome, like a clear dome, and then you can see the night sky, so it's like perfect for watching
Wow.
the northern lights and shit like that. It's so cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What's the least farthest north? You know what I mean? That you have to go to see.
They say you can see it here sometimes.
Yeah, you can see it in
really?
Minnesota. The aurora borealis form when charged particles emitted from the sun during a solar flare penetrate the Earth's magnetic shield and collide with atoms and molecules in our atmosphere. Thank you, Greg.
Boom!
So we were both right.
Boom!
Jesus.
So it's not every night.
I don't think
Well, it's when there's a flare, and technically the sun is always in a state of flare. You know what I'm saying? That makes sense?
I think solar flares are not constant.
They're like explosions that are, magnetic.
Yeah.
Man, think about the sun, though. Fuck, have you ever just looked at the footage of the sun?
Yeah, shit's fucking nuts.
You're not supposed to
Have
look
you?
at the sun, Matt.
Have you?
No.
Let me, I gotta
It
pull.
looks like lava.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
it's,
have seen where it's like sputtering and like doing all that. Like.
but it's not even lava, it's just fission.
Yeah. It's
Shit
crazy.
is wild.
It is pretty crazy.
But I mean, have you ever seen any of those, the footage of like a huge solar flare?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, they say one of those is gonna fuck up all our electronics.
Or just toast us in general. Did you ever see, what was that Nicolas Cage movie? Knowing. Did you ever see that
More
movie?
specific.
Negative.
It was essentially, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen the movie Knowing. Basically, it's all about the sun flares.
Oh yeah. Did we see that?
Yeah, we saw that in the theater because I was really pumped about it. And honestly, if we get a big enough sun flare off the sun any minute of any day, any time, we are toast, absolute toast. I mean, we're in the firing range. And there was actually a solar flare like 2 years ago or something like that fired the opposite way of us, and had it hit us at the very bare minimum, all of our electronics would have just been fucked.
Yeah.
How come it affects the electronics?
Because it's radiation and electromagnetic distortion, electromagnetic pulse,
Yeah.
kind of a thing.
That's crazy.
Pure energy. But
Fascinating.
then as far as, did you know time travel is possible?
I really enjoy my time travel theory
Which is,
that it'll never happen because we don't have it now.
well,
Because I don't trust humans to have never gone back in time with time travel and brought the technology with them so that it's implemented before our time.
Have you seen those pictures online of like stuff from like in the past, like World War I, or like
Like an anachronism in real life, like where something is out of place, like something like somebody dressed in modern clothing
yes,
in the past. Yeah.
yes,
I've seen those.
and like or like there's a crowd of people and somebody's like looking at the camera kind of like thing, but they look like they're in modern day clothes.
Yeah.
There was
Do you
one
believe
that,
this?
no, it's just coincidence. I think.
I don't know.
Is that the wrong answer?
Who fucking knows?
Everyone's just staring at me.
Well, how's it a coincidence?
It's just a coincidence. Like there's a
Like,
picture of some guy in like the 1800s or something like that looks like he's talking on a cell phone, like legitimate, like walking down the street talking on a cell phone. But more than likely he was just scratching his face and someone took a picture.
There's some weird shadows.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what
I
I'm
was
saying.
talking about modern day clothes.
Yeah.
I'm like, so somebody's wearing skate shoes and.
Or have you seen those?
I've seen it.
That's what.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like modern day clothes stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, other than Marty McFly. But no, time travel is absolutely possible, and we already know how to do it, except for the fact that we can't travel faster than the speed of light.
We have the Large Hadron Collider.
Yeah. Fuck. Talk about a gamble, huh?
Yeah.
Large Hadron Collider is in what country is it? France?
I think it's like France and Sweden.
Sweden. So it's this giant circle, right? And they utilize that to it's all in the search of dark matter and to understand more about that, because there's a big theory, it has been proven, that the space is made up of dark matter, that it's not just an empty void with planets and such, but there's something called dark matter. So they're trying to find it. And one of the possible side effects of firing two what are they, atoms?
I think it's quarks.
Quarks?
Yeah.
Firing these two things at each other so fast to try and form dark matter was they may inadvertently start a black hole.
Yeah.
And
in between France and Sweden.
Yeah.
And then see ya. Yeah.
Yikes.
Because a black hole can literally start out as the size of a pinprick that we know right now, and it can hold the mass of a sun, and it can just devour everything, light, everything.
They had one test. I think it ended up being like a mechanical error, the reading, but so like when they send it and then it's received, they time it, and they had one where it was received before it was sent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think they like dug in deeper, and it ended up being just something wrong with their coding.
That's crazy.
But that's what they're trying. They're trying to. So like that would have traveled through time basically.
God, it's so fucking cool. But that's the thing, that's why space is like, it's the last thing. It really is. It's the last thing to tackle. If you want to go back in time, it's got to be through space, because you have to travel. You have to master light speed.
Yep.
If you get in a ship right now, theoretically, and you fired off at light speed, you are not going to age a bit. You're going to age maybe, however long it takes you to get there, and then you come back to the Earth at the same rate. Let's say you fire to Jupiter at light speed, fire back, years are going to pass here. And you have never seen Interstellar, have you?
Nope.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't think you would like it anyway.
Is that the one
with Matthew McConaughey?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Matt Damon.
That deals with so much, and it's actually really like accurate. It
Yeah.
deals so much with that kind of theory. And
My favorite thing. So I took physics in high school, and my favorite part was we were watching a movie on quantum physics, and they said that if you were traveling the speed of light and turned on a flashlight, you would be traveling with the end of the flashlight beam, and you could like see the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fastest that they have theoretically proven that they can travel is there are these little ships, because there's no atmosphere in space to go up against. So like if you put like a sheet, like a bed sheet out like this, and if you just pushed it, it's going to stay in its regular form, and it's going to travel. It's not going to bend or swoosh in the wind or anything like that. So on these spacecrafts, they put these really thin, like tin foil sheets.
Yeah, they're like copper colored.
Yeah, they're like copper colored.
Yeah.
We fire lasers at them, and those lasers propel these things to unheard of speeds. Crazy speeds. Like they said, it was in a documentary I watched at one point, that if you fired a laser at one of these things, they call them micro drones is what they want to do. They want to send a shitload of these things to another galaxy. And they think they can do it within about 60 years with this speed technology.
Yeah.
And that's fucking awesome.
What are they called? Sun sails?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
So they utilize the actual I don't know if it's photons or just lasers or whatever, but they utilize that to propel themselves. So they're using light to travel really, really, at least maybe not close to the speed of light. They're using light to travel super fast, because there's nothing that travels faster than light in the known universe. And so that's something that
Until the aliens come.
Woo! You want to talk about aliens? Woo! We just got
Remember
back from our Area 51 camp out.
Yeah. Do you remember that they had that thing that traveled past us? It was like a big long. It almost looked like a rock turd to me. But they said that it seemed
called
like
the Alma-Mau-Meow or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
They said that it seemed like it was sent, like something about the way that it was moving, or that it was like a probe from another galaxy.
So what Greg is referencing is, was it a year ago? 2 years
Something
ago?
like that.
It was the first interstellar object ever recorded in human history. Do you know what that means?
No.
So an interstellar object is something that came it wasn't within our solar system or our neighborhood. It came absolutely from a different place. And its trajectory put it right through our solar system. It just came in and said goodbye, and it's still on its way. It was a big cigar-shaped thing. Seriously.
It was. It looked like a big rock turd.
I like how Greg said rock turd and you called it a cigar.
Was it spinning? I don't think it was spinning.
I don't know. It wasn't like at all. It was just traveling.
It was just traveling. So a lot of people thought it was like a ship. And so that kind of, but that's the thing. And now we have our second interstellar visitor that's on its way right now, and it's a comet. And you can go on Google right now. It's September 2019. You can go on there right now and take a look at it. But that's going to pass pretty soon. And these are things that are coming into our solar system that don't belong here. And they're not going to stay here, especially when it comes to gravity. They're not going to get caught in the sun's gravitational pull or anything. They're just going straight through.
Wow, that's crazy.
Anyone curious, it's called, he actually said it pretty well, Oumuamua. It's Oumuamua. You can Google that and you can find more about it. And now I will show Diana that it looks like a rock turd.
Well, but a lot of scientists think that it was something extraterrestrial because its trajectory, it slowed down at one point. From what I remember, they said it slowed
looks like a
down
turd.
and seemed to maneuver at one point. And they said the only way that it could have made it out here at that speed, because it was going fucking fast, the only way it could have made it out here at that speed was by force, whether that be an explosion or propelled. So I don't know, man. Shit's wild. But if you want to talk about aliens, I believe in aliens 1,000,000%.
Oh, yeah.
Like, in what form?
Any form.
Like, do you think that they visited?
100%. I think all religions, everything is based on aliens. 100%. And that's like, did you ever watch that show, Ancient Aliens?
A bit.
There was a lot of compelling things that they talked about as far as in like 15th century art.
Yeah.
The origins. Huh?
Are you talking about the squares?
Everything, yeah. Everything that they did Bible stories, they did things from the Hindu texts.
Yep.
I mean, every religion, the pyramids. Every religion on Earth, I feel, was because put yourself in a 600 AD society or even like a 100 BC, right? And you see a solar eclipse. What's happening? The Earth is ending.
Yeah.
God is upset. You don't know.
He's
what's
turning
going
the lights off on
everything.
You're done.
Or you get one of those meteors that blew up over Russia. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
There's no way you can answer all this stuff. Like, there's no way you can even compute as to what that is. You don't even know what space is. You don't even know what the Earth is.
Can you imagine the people back then that like they saw like the eclipse and maybe they traveled somewhere later and they started to talk to people where they traveled to about it and it wasn't visible there. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
And they're like,
Yeah.
And then they think that where they came from is the promised land or something.
Well, now we're talking about dimensions.
Yeah.
Fuck. Like, we share, like, Earth is in a different dimension. And we share this, we're on a different dimensional plane, but we share this rock called Earth with countless other dimensions that we can't see.
I implore everybody listening to Google the 1561 celestial phenomenon over Nuremberg.
Explain that.
It's
He told me about this. I got jacked.
So it was a mass sighting of celestial phenomena or unidentified flying objects over Nuremberg, Germany in 1561. The phenomenon has been interpreted by some modern UFO enthusiasts as an aerial battle of extraterrestrial origin. So if you Google that, if you look at it on Wikipedia, there's art from 1561 showing what masses of people said that they saw happening above their city, which is basically a space battle, like straight out of Star Wars.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's it even says what was the a mass sighting. So like
wow.
Thousands upon thousands of people attesting that happened.
Do you remember the World War II battle that took place on U.S. soil? Mainland U.S. soil?
No.
You don't remember that? Do you remember that?
No.
There was only one battle in World War II or that era that took place on U.S. mainland soil, and it was the Battle of Los Angeles. Remember that?
No.
I remember that movie.
The Battle of Los Angeles is a recorded official thing in the U.S. government, and it was a mass sighting of a UFO over the city of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
They were firing anti-aircraft guns. They thought it was the Japanese. The Pearl Harbor fervor was at an all-time high. Of course, it just happened. And so they thought there was a big air raid over California. It was not. And actually, I'm Googling Battle of Los Angeles. Definitely take a look, because more than likely you're going to see one picture. And I saw this in a documentary a few years ago, and it just blew my mind. So this is a picture from that era.
I know, yeah.
These are spotlights.
Yep.
Those are spotlights.
Oh, wow.
Anti-aircraft guns. Everyone saw this thing. What does that look like to you? It's a goddamn UFO. And I'm telling you right now, if you really take the time to do some research, look at some of this stuff at face value, just like some of these cover-ups and like Area 51 and especially Battle of Los Angeles, man. Like it's really crazy how, like, I don't know, in my mind I feel like everyone believes in aliens, you know what I mean? I just feel like everyone's waiting for that compelling evidence. Yeah. I got my absolute evidence 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I've told this story countless times, but I was sitting out on a dock on a lake with my cousin, my uncle, and my cousin's friend, and in the sky we saw 3 lights that formed a triangle that were brighter than any star in the sky. Not as bright as the moon at that point. We were like, huh, what's that right there? And as soon as we started saying that, the bottom left light of the triangle got bright and then disappeared. This is in outer space. This isn't in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
The bottom left then got bright, disappeared. So the 2 bottom ones of the triangle. The top of the triangle got so bright, it was brighter than the moon. And we were all just sitting there dumbstruck.
Yeah.
Just staring at it. And then it disappeared. We all looked at each other and said, holy shit. That was the mothership.
Yep.
Easily. It was nuts.
Mm-hmm.
That's all the evidence I need.
Yeah.
Unreal. Nothing does that.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
I've had a few. Like I'll get into one when we do our like creepy stories one.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. But there's another one. So I used to smoke. You guys know that. Not a lot of people do.
Crack?
But no.
Oh.
just cigarettes. And so I went out on my parents' deck, and they live like right out of Hayden Lake. Like you can see part of the lake from their front deck. No thanks. You can see part of the lake from their front deck, and so I went out there and I was smoking, and I like look up in the sky and I see this bright light that's brighter than any plane, satellite, anything, and I noticed that like the lake has started to get like really choppy and weird, and the wind started blowing really hard, and then I started hearing animals like howling and making all these noises that I've never heard out there before, and they've been at that house for over 10 years. Never heard any of that before, and this thing is going across the sky, and it's kind of like you know if you saw like a rowing team, and like every time they row, the rowboat will like slice through the water, and then it kind of like slows down a little bit until they row again.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was doing across the sky. So it would like glide across and then slow down for a second and glide across.
Yeah.
And I'm watching it go across, and it's like mayhem happening all around me. This is like 1 a.m. And then it disappears behind some trees, and everything stopped.
Fuck. That's so cool.
The water got calm.
Terrifying, but cool.
Yeah, the water got calm. The trees, like the wind went away. There was no animal noises. It was just a normal night again.
That's crazy.
Except for me on the deck, cigarette in hand. Like, what the fuck?
Wet pants.
Yeah.
Well, when I think about it totally, and this is my killer, that anytime I question whether they're real or not, aliens that is, or whether, you know, we know about them, or the government does, look at the technology. From frickin' 1 AD to like 1500,
Yeah.
you had other than like crude metal and things like that in castles, pretty much the same shit.
Yeah.
From, 1600 all the way up through like 1800, 1900, Industrial Revolution, sure, but still pretty crude.
Yeah.
You had the invention of the wheel, or not the wheel, but like the automobile, things like that. Maybe that happened a little earlier. But pretty crude technology.
Yeah.
And then you get to 1940s,
Yep.
when Roswell apparently happened.
Mm-hmm.
In most of our grandparents' lifetime,
Yeah. Came further.
you went
than
from
everything else combined.
World War II era to fucking, we're recording a podcast on an LCD
Yeah.
touchscreen phone.
Yep. Yeah, you bring this shit back to
1985 and
Yeah.
people are going to blow their
Yeah.
minds.
just
Seriously.
they're just gonna melt their brains.
The drastic jump in technology from in a 60-year span,
Yeah.
70 year now, 78 I guess.
Yeah. Jesus.
Unbelievable. That is the
That's depressing.
largest jump in technological sophistication in the history of mankind. Think of it in those terms.
Yeah.
That is fucking
How about
insane.
the dip from like how advanced Greece and Rome were to the Dark Ages?
Yeah. All very,
What the fuck happened there?
but it's all very crude. Swords. Hell, they even had like swords in World War One.
Yeah.
Know what I'm saying?
But I'm
guns
saying
and-
like Greece and Rome, they were so advanced and Egypt, are you fucking kidding me? They were
Egypt-
so advanced.
So even today, they have technology. And Diana mentioned the squares earlier. Down in Lima, Peru, I think it is, or is in the mountains of Peru somewhere. There are rocks. I can't remember what kind of rocks they are, but
It's granite.
oh, it's granite. So there are rocks, granite boulders out in the middle of this field on this mountaintop, and they have within them several different types of indentations or cuts that are razor precise, like perfect, and you can't cut granite that way.
Yeah.
They have squares and squares and squares and squares, and they talk to like some of the best rock cutters and some of the best people in the industry today, like and with modern technology that use diamond head cutters, laser precision, and they can't get close after thousands of years. These things, some of them are still sharp to the touch. In Egypt, they have a lot of these in the inner tombs.
Yeah.
Light does not get through these cracks.
Mhm.
They cut these things to the letter as far
yeah.
as completely flat. It's crazy. This is Egyptian. You know what I'm
And
saying?
they want us to think that some slaves and some pulleys made all
Yeah.
this.
You kidding me?
Okay.
Doubt it.
Yeah.
So they asked the guy to try on a big slab of granite. He's like, I'll try my best. He tried to, not even close, dude. It's unreal. So I mean, the proof is right, you know. But really, anytime you talk about this with anybody, talk about anyone listening as well. Really think about when your grandma and your grandpa were growing up. Did they have half the shit that we have right now?
Do you
Fuck
think
no.
we're slowing
Unreal.
down technologically?
No, I think if anything, we're ramping up.
Yeah.
Think about phones in 2009 as opposed to phones today.
Yeah.
Think
Well, just
about
like,
phones.
You know, every time, this is a stupid reference, but every time we watch NFL films, you go, what year do you think that is? I'm like, I don't know, 1997.
There's
You're
some
like,
weird-
that was 2005.
There is some weird film degradation I don't
Yeah.
understand.
There's no way when we watched that in 2005 that it looked that shit.
I remember I saw a highlight recently
Right?
of like Super Bowl 40.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was like high def. That was like the first high def
Yeah.
Super Bowl, and it looks like it was from like '84.
Yeah.
There's some film degradation I
Something's
don't
happening.
understand.
Yeah.
But in terms of technology by itself, it's gonna just keep going rapidly.
Yeah.
But that's why they call this the information age.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, that's that right there. That's the only proof I need.
Yep.
Makes sense.
At the beginning of the 19th century, people didn't know how to fly. Now all of a sudden, we're going into space and shit.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Let's be clear. People still don't know how to fly. We use aircraft.
Stupid. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
If someone was born in 1899 and lived to be 100,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that person experienced the absolute apex
Yeah.
of technological everything.
And they died before there were more than two genders.
Boom! That is the
Um,
perfect way to end. Thank you so much. High five. Anyway, I could go on about space for days. Hopefully this was somewhat informational, entertaining. And I mean, if we got some of the information wrong, we're not fucking scientists. But
Don't
this-
message me.
Yeah, don't like call me out or anything like that. Like, hey man, Pluto's a blah 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 blah. But no, I mean, I could talk about space all the time. Any final thoughts from my other review?
I feel like a good sub name for this podcast would be Diana Learns Science.
With an asterisk.
Yeah, like maybe.
Yeah, then the asterisk says
Question
not
mark?
really though.
Question mark, question mark.
Greg, how about you?
Pour one out for Pluto.
And mine would just be more philosophical. Just always look to the stars and always ask questions.
Don't laugh.
I tried to be serious. Anyway, no. Thank you for listening to episode 6 of the Triple Scoop. We will catch you back here next time. Bye.